Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar of types of service, especially the waiter service. We just want to give a few minutes for everybody to join. In the meantime, I will just introduce myself. I'm Marieke Smit, an educational specialist at Impact. And so just give a few minutes for everybody to join. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar. We are going to look at the hospitality studies, types of services, and we are going to focus this lesson on waiter service. This lesson is presented by Impact. And before we start, I just want to introduce myself again. My name is Marieke Smit. I'm the Chief Education Specialist at Impact for Services Subjects in Technology. I also want to introduce Serena Jordan. She will be assisting me with this lesson. Thank you, Serena. And before we start with the actual lesson, I just want to focus on a few basic things that you need to know. First of all, if you struggle to hear me, please make sure that your audio is on and your speaker's volume is turned up. You will be automatically muted when joining the session. You can also ask questions during the session by raising your hand on your dashboard. You can see a hand there, which you can just click on, or you can ask questions in the question box. This presentation can be downloaded from the handout box on your dashboard again. And all this information will be in the question box below on your dashboard. So just check there. And please remember at the end to send your questions and feedback on the session for us to improve in future. Now, before we start, I just want to remind you to look at your study notes and CAPS document to see exactly what needs to be covered for this term. Also, make use of this webinars and your guided learning platform to ask some questions regarding this subject. And last but not least, please make sure that you use our Facebook pages to ask your questions so that we can assist you with this subject. Okay, let's get to the lesson. Today, we're going to look at the different types of service, and in the restaurant industry, we get 4 types of service. First of all, we are going to look at the waiter service today, and later we'll do the rest of the services. But the 4 types of service that we get is waiter service, assisted service, self-service, and single point service. Now, we're going to focus this lesson on waiter service. So we will look at the next 5 types of service. In the first place, we're going to discuss plated service. We're going to look at silver service, Russian service, Eurodon service, and family service. So let's get started. The first type of service we call plated service. And this will be done in the kitchen, and the plates, they will plate the food onto individual plates in the kitchen, and that will be done by the chef. So after that, the waiter will then bring the plates to the table. So this is the most common service that is used in a restaurant, especially with our pets, we will use this type of service. So the waiters will serve the customers from the right. This type of service is used with a la carte and a table d'hôte menu. Just keep that in mind. And then there's a lot of advantages by using this type of service. First of all, the portion control is much better. You will have less wastage, and there will be more creativity from the chef because they have time to plate the food. Also, there is no specialized training needed or required for this type of service. So this is called plated service. Very easy on a plate, plated onto individual plates and then served by the waiters. Okay, let's look at silver service. I always remember it like silver service is with silver utensils. but that's just my way to remember it. This is described, or the description of this service is when the waiter serves food on a flat silver service dish to the guest's plate from the left of the customer by using service cutlery. We will just show you a photo of that after this discussion. And normally a waiter will serve more or less 12 guests with this service. So in the picture you can see there's the flat silver service dish, and the waiter will bring that from the kitchen and serve on the left of that guest with the utensils in her hand. So this requires the waiter to be able to use this cutlery. In other words, they need to be trained to use that and serve the food from the left. So normally we will use a dessert spoon and dessert fork for silver service. The food is portioned and plated on a service dish in the kitchen, like I said, and then we use this for functions and table out menus. So this is silver service. The third type of service is Russian service. And this is actually easy to remember because large joints of food, especially like fried chicken or a whole fish, will be plated on serving dishes and then on a side table for the guests to see. So that will be displayed before we serve the guests. And then from there, it will be portioned and placed on a serving plate. And each individual dish will be served with the serving plate to the guests by the waiter. So actually what will happen is, if you look at the pictures, first of all, we will display this, the whole chicken or whole fish, and then it will be cut and portioned and plated on the serving plates, which you can see at the bottom. And then these plates will be served to the guest by the waiter, and each guest will then serve themselves and pass this to the next guest. After that, the waiters will then remove the serving plates. This is Russian service. Then we get Gueridon service. This one is also very well known. It is when food is served onto a guest's plate with silver service. So that means we will use the dessert spoon and dessert fork from a trolley, which we call a Gueridon trolley. And that will stand next to the table, and the guest, the chef, which will prepare the food, will then serve from the left of the guest. So this is the difference. Just take note of that. If it's plated service, it will be served from the right. But if it's silver service, then it will be served from the left. So this is the Gueridon trolley. So you can see that example there. Then, very important to remember, because this is also asked in question papers all the time, the chef de rang is in charge of the flambé dishes. That will mean, I will give you an example just now in one of the pictures. But this is when a dish is flambéed, then the chef de rang will prepare that, and you will be assisted by the chef, commis chef, and that means it's a chef that's still in training. So this trolley is a movable trolley. The food will be prepared and filleted, carved and flambéed on that trolley in front of the guests. After that, that will be served and the trolley will be moved to the next table. So let's say, for example, more than one guest at the table will be served. Then they will only prepare the main dish on the trolley. The rest will be served via plate service to the guests. And just take note again, this Gueridon service will be served from the left and with silver service. This is actually used in very exclusive restaurants, and it requires a lot of skills, specialized service, and teamwork. This is also very expensive dishes that is served. So if you can look at this again, we use the trolley next to the table. You can see that in the picture below. So there is the chef de rang preparing the food for the guests. So this is actually like entertainment to the guests. So that is Gueridon service. Then the last service that we're going to look at is family service. This is actually very easy to remember also, because if you look at family, we as a family normally eat like this at home. So first of all the main course and the vegetables will be served in different serving dishes, like that. And then that will be placed in the middle of the dining table for each of us to serve ourselves. So remember that the handles of the serving cutlery always face the nearest guest so that they can serve themselves and pass that on to the next guest. The waiter will then remove that anytime when it's empty. And if it's necessary, they will replace that dish. Additional to plate service is the service. Always the main item will be plated and the rest of the food will be in the middle of the table. So let's say, for example, you will have your chicken in the middle and the other dishes will be served with plate service. This is actually very nice service because we can select only what we require, and the portion size is also very good controlled by the guests. So if you can have a look at that picture, just to explain it a little bit more. So yeah, you can see there in the middle, all the dishes are served, and then the guest passes that on and help themselves. Okay, let's just quickly summarize this waiter services. In the first place, we have plated service. We can remember that by seeing the plates. It is plated in the kitchen and served from the right of the guest by the waiters. Then we will have silver service, and we remember that we're doing that from a serving dish plate and silver service with the dessert spoon and dessert fork. And that will be served from the left. Then we have the Russian service, which will be large portions displayed on a table and then served to the guest to help themselves. And then we get Gyrodon service. That will be the entertainment next to the table to the guests, where they will prepare the food and then serve with silver service, like discussed here, from the left of the guests. And last, the family service, which we will do at the table, and then everybody will help themselves, and the waiters will remove that when done. So this is the type of services that we get in the restaurant industry. I think now we have a few minutes for questions. So if there's any questions, please raise your hands so that we can answer you. Is there anybody with questions?
I see there's Jeanette. I'm quickly just going to unmute you, Jeanette. Jeanette, can you hear us?
Hello, Jeanette, can you hear us?
Jeanette, just remember to unmute yourself as well. Okay, we're going to move on. There's Joshua. Joshua, you're self-muted. Can you quickly unmute yourself as well? Okay, we'll move on. There's Lene Bezuidenhout. Lene, we can hear you.
Just the next one, just the one next to the Russian one. I don't know how to spell it out.
Gyrodon?
The Gyrodon.
Yes.
The Gueri. Yeah, that one. Is it like hear me now? The entertainment, like that's happening in front of people, or?
Yes, that will be, because that's part of entertainment to the guests, and that's why it's very expensive. So they will do that for the individual guests. And like I said, if they serve more than one guest at the table, then they will only do the main dish for the people like that. So they will prepare it on that trolley for the guests, if that answers your question.
Okay, now I understand.
Okay,
Sorry,
great.
ma'am.
Yes.
It's Josh. I just wanted to ask, will we be able to save this so we can study if we don't understand fully?
You're meaning you're talking about the presentation?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So we will be making this available to our clients, and so you will get hold of this.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. We have some more questions there.
There's Tamara. I'm quickly gonna unmute Tamara. Tamara, we can hear you. Okay, we're going to move on. So,
See, Jeanette
sorry,
Tron also.
Tamara. Tamara, are you there? Okay, let's see if there's anybody else.
The neighbor side note also have a question. Renee, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, you can ask.
I'm getting nog 'n vraag. I don't have another question.
Okay, so you're fine.
Yes, I'm fine.
Thank you.
Jeanette, we're gonna try you again. Jeanette? Jeanette, do you have a question?
Okay, so now I think we can ask them to ask any other questions after the session. Then we can answer them, if it's okay with you.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay, so let's finish up this presentation. So we handled the questions, so please feel free to also send us any other questions that you have so that we can help you with the subject. And also, if you're not registered with Impact, please contact us. There's the email address for you available so that we can further assist you with the subjects. And thank you very much for joining us today. Keep well and don't lock down on your studies, please. Thank you.